Michael Jordan dominated the 1990s by winning 6 championships, 2 three-peats, multiple regular season and finals MVPs, multiple All-NBA first team and All-Defensive selections, scoring titles, and multiple All-Star selections. No one came close to beating MJ. Hitting the championship-winning shot in Utah was the perfect storybook ending to a legendary career. Or so we thought. It was the year 2000, 2 years after winning his second three-peat and 6th championship in the last 8 years. Michael Jordan had finalized a deal with then Washington Wizards owner Abe Pollin to be the team's president of basketball operations after 5 months of courtship. Jordan signed on with the goal of turning things around in Washington. The Wizards have not won a single playoff game in 12 seasons. The last time the Wizards were in the playoffs, they were swept by Michael and the Bulls in the first round. The deal also gives Jordan a share of equity that could increase to 20% if Pollin decides to sell. He bought his stake in the team from Lincoln Holdings, the group led by current Wizards owner Ted Leonsis. "I'm going to have my imprints and footprints all over this organization. I look forward to turning this thing around," Jordan said during his introductory press conference after he was named the Wizards' president of basketball operations. Jordan's marriage to the Wizards comes months after his first attempt to purchase the Charlotte Hornets fell through. He has also been linked to buying the Milwaukee Bucks, Denver Nuggets, and the Vancouver Grizzlies. After purchasing the Washington Capitals and acquiring minority shares in the Wizards, Leonsis immediately arranged a meeting between Jordan, longtime Jordan agent David Falk, and Wizards executives. The discussions revolved around ownership, but Jordan inquired about having some input regarding basketball decisions. Shortly after, Leonsis brought Jordan and Pollin together. Michael even had dinner at Pollin's house where further progress was made about MJ joining the organization. Jordan eventually agreed to join the team as president of basketball operations and then went about working out the ownership portion with Leonsis after. The newfound relationship allowed Pollin to bring Jordan just one step below him in the Wizards' chain of command. Jordan's considerable drawing power was evident in that press conference, which drew the largest media gathering at the then MCI Center since it opened in 1997. A day before, Jordan watched the Wizards take on the Dallas Mavericks from Pollin's box, with President Bill Clinton at his side. The Wizards were lagging in attendance and lacking the necessary glamour of other successful NBA teams. They needed a superstar to resurrect the franchise, and there is no bigger superstar than Michael Jordan. This is basically the exact reason why he decided to unretire and suit up for the Wizards in 2001. Sure, there was still an itch that needed to be scratched, as what Jordan had told reporters when he announced his comeback. But the bigger picture is to bring the Wizards to relevancy. To put people on the seats of the arena and watch Wizards games on TV, because him being in the owner's box was not enough to do it. That's why on September 2001, 2 weeks after the 9/11 attacks shook the nation's capital and the world, Jordan announced his intention to return to the hardwood after 3 years of being away from the game. He divested his ownership stake per NBA rules and showed up at the Wizards Media Day as a 38-year-old player. Doug Collins, who previously coached Jordan in Chicago, was hired as the new head coach. Tim Grover, who was Michael's personal trainer and was a constant presence in the Bulls training facility, was also brought back. Traveling with Jordan took some getting used to for the Wizards' young players like Rip Hamilton, Ethan Thomas, Bobby Simmons, and Brendan Haywood, as his rockstar status precipitated a Hollywood royalty-like lifestyle for an otherwise humdrum Wizards team. Then rookie Thomas remembers fans who would fight through crowds just for a chance to get a high five or a handshake from Jordan, then look at their hands like they turned into solid gold. Similar to what Bulls players experienced during Chicago's glory days. When the regular season started, Jordan had 6 30-point games before the calendar reached December. Then he followed it up with 51 and 40-point performances against Charlotte and New Jersey in back-to-back games in December. Then 40 and 41 against Cleveland and Phoenix in back-to-back outings in January. He also reached 30,000 points, the second fastest player in NBA history to hit the mark donning a Wizards jersey. Wilt Chamberlain did it in just 940 games, while it took just 20 more games for his airness. After hitting the 30,000th point of his career in the free throw line, the crowd erupted and gave Jordan a standing ovation. The NBA then gave MJ a huge basketball-shaped trophy with Abe Pollin as the presenter. He sealed the win with a mind-blowing, two-handed block against the Bulls' Ron Mercer that made its rounds on SportsCenter even more than his 30,000th point. And this was a man who was almost 40 years old at the time and was still dropping 40 and 50 points in back-to-back games and making a huge impact on the defensive end in the National Basketball Association. Jordan was legitimately in the MVP conversation that season and had the Wizards hovering above 500 after winning just 19 games the year before, but a knee injury that required surgery effectively ended his season early and derailed the team's playoffs push. His efficiency may be down compared to his Bulls years, and there were times that it seemed Father Time finally caught up to the greatest to ever lace them, but his will and determination were still on full display. Playing in just 60 games, Jordan averaged 22.9 points, 5.7 rebounds, 5.2 assists, and 1.4 steals per game and made the Eastern Conference All-Star team. He was the leading scorer and minutes played on a Wizards team that lacked any other star or scoring power other than Rip Hamilton. During that season, Kobe Bryant was the only other player averaging 25, 5, and 5. In Jordan's second season with the Wizards, he scored 40 or more points 3 times, becoming the first 40-year-old to score 40-plus points in a game in NBA history. At 40 years of age, Michael Jordan managed to play the full 82 games of the season, averaging 20 points and 6 rebounds per game. The 2003 All-Star Game morphed into a full-on celebration of MJ's legendary career, with Mariah Carey singing the iconic Hero song as a tribute. Fittingly, he even hit the go-ahead clutch fadeaway jumper that would have won the Eastern All-Stars the game until Jermaine O'Neal foolishly fouled Kobe Bryant with seconds left on the clock, which led to Bryant tying the score and the game to overtime. Despite being light on help and needing to drain his knees multiple times during his 2 playing years in Washington, Jordan still managed to flash the drive and greatness that made him one of the most captivating athletes in sports history. Jordan officially played his last game in the NBA on April 16, 2003, against Allen Iverson and the Philadelphia 76ers. After playing for 2 years with the Wizards, there was an understanding that Jordan would return to his former role of president. 3 weeks after his last game, Michael met with the team owner to discuss what he assumed would be the resumption of his career as team president. But Abe Pollin had other plans. He gave him his walking papers, with no explanation. He just told Jordan that the franchise was going in another direction and his services were no longer needed. And then he handed Jordan a $10 million check as his severance payment. $10 million would be a nice severance package for anybody not named Michael Jordan. But for Jordan, it was an insult. He has that much tucked under a pillow somewhere. And it was never about the money. This was not what he expected, especially after he brought 2 seasons worth of endless sellouts and season ticket packages, high-end merchandise sales, and copious national TV appearances for the previously moribund franchise. Jordan was shocked and furious. He tore up the check and a heated discussion followed that led to Pollin walking out of the room as Jordan called him several unflattering names. In a report in 2003 by the New York Times, it was said that the late Wizards owner had held a grudge against Michael during his entire stay in Washington. As everyone now had seen those Chicago Bulls practices in The Last Dance, MJ brought that competitive fire and command that allowed him to dominate the NBA for 13 years. Those practices were not for the soft-hearted. And with Washington not used to being in a winning culture, it detested the tough love that Jordan brought from Chicago. Pollin was not pleased about how Jordan and his people treated his people. He had only endured everything as long as Jordan was bringing in all the money. During Jordan's comeback, the Wizards' top brass silently endured his supposed presumption. The new revenue sparked by Jordan's return and the franchise's hunt for national respect accounted entirely for ownership's meekness. Because Pollin had won basketball's version of the lotto. Suddenly, everyone wanted time with him. His arena became a salon for rappers and cabinet members, foreign titans, and Hollywood royalty. The late Commissioner David Stern skipped the Los Angeles Lakers ring night at Staples Center just to catch Jordan's debut with the Wizards in Madison Square Garden. His luxury boxes swelled with new tenants. Every game at MCI Center was sold out. Around the NBA, every road game against Washington sold out rapidly too. The cost of Wizards tickets on the road was similar to the cost of the LA Lakers tickets, the best team in the league at the time, just to see Jordan alone. As soon as Michael returned to play, the NBA threw the Wizards on national television schedule after barely being there. Jordan's presence on the court turned the Wizards into the league's biggest home draw and made Abe Pollin's floundering franchise profitable by better than $10 million during each of his 2 playing seasons in Washington. All in all, Michael Jordan made the Wizards $40 to $50 million while playing for them. But the bountiful times obscured the mounting private irritation of Polin, who liked the burgeoning revenue but chafed under Jordan's slights. Polin treated Jordan deferentially until his last game had come and gone and the money stopped. Then he reneged on him. Sure, Jordan failed miserably in his executive role with the Wizards. There is no sugarcoating it. From hiring Leonard Hamilton as a coach to trading a young Rip Hamilton for an aging Jerry Stackhouse to drafting maybe the worst #1 pick in league history in Kwame Brown, there were countless missteps that could justify his exit from the Wizards front office. But not like this. The Wizards could have afforded Jordan the respect he definitely earned, being him the greatest player to ever play the game and him reviving the franchise and taking it to levels it hasn't seen before. Before Jordan arrived, the Wizards were a nondescript perennial loser with no national profile. Jordan elevated their status in the NBA and the world. Instead, they threw him out the gate like a used rag that had no use to them anymore. A mere 3 weeks after he had taken off his uniform for the last time, Jordan exited the MCI Center alone in a Mercedes convertible with Illinois plates, feeling betrayed and used. And it says more about Abe Polin and the Washington Wizards than Michael Jordan.